Hello everyone and welcome back to day 15 of the 30-day film challenge. And I took a little break because of everything that's happening around in the world. So if you guys want to know more, check out my video on Do the Right Thing and the whole George Floyd situation. I highly recommend you guys watching that video. I talk about a lot of great stuff. And as well, I will link donation sites down in the description below, as it is also in that video as well. So let's just jump into day 15, which is very fitting because this is movies that just make you extremely happy and just feel good movies. And today I'm doing a little bit of a cheat, as you guys saw from the title. I'm not talking about one movie, I'm not talking about two movies, I'm talking about my favorite trilogy of all time. Yes, that's right, my favorite trilogy of all time, which is kind of weird because it's kind of a trilogy, but for me, in my heart, it is my favorite trilogy. That is the Cornetto Trilogy, which consists of Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End. And it's kind of the trilogy with Edgar Wright, Simon Pegg, and Nick Frost. Those three kind of teamed up together along with a bunch of other cast members, and kind of all star in all three of these films that have similar kind of comedic beats and similar tones, and the shortcut jumping over the fence jokes, and they all just kind of fit all together as the three flavors of Cornetto. And I love all three of these movies for very different reasons. But one thing is for sure, these movies are extremely entertaining and feel good, and it never ceases to make me laugh, all three of these movies. And I will focus more heavily on Hot Fuzz and The World's End, considering I did a review completely on Shaun of the Dead, so I will also link that in the description. I'll put it in the little cards up there. So if you guys want to hear my thoughts on Shaun of the Dead specifically, you can watch that video. But let's just jump right into this. And first of all, Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, their chemistry in all three of these movies are just fantastic. The friendship in Shaun of the Dead is just perfect. And the kind of buddy cop kind of relationship, and it's kind of a bromance, almost straight up romance in Hot Fuzz, which I think is just, it's so funny. It kind of hits all the beats of a romantic comedy in that movie, which is kind of genius. And of course, you have The World's End, which is actually my favorite relationship out of all three of them. I love their back and forth in that movie the most. And so moving over to Hot Fuzz, you know, Shaun of the Dead was Edgar Wright's first feature film, so you kind of forgive some of the weaker aspects of the quality of that movie in terms of just the look and the fact that it's extremely low budget, but he got more of a budget and he kind of matured more as a filmmaker with every single film. So when you get to Hot Fuzz, I think his quick editing style actually kind of hurt this movie. And I know Edgar Wright is known for his very fast-paced editing and quick cuts and quick beats of comedy, and his action in this film is very, very quick cuts. There are so many cuts in this movie. It kind of gets under my skin a little bit. I love the action in this movie for the most part, but there's some times where it's just like, what is happening? Because you can see that there's good choreography happening in these fight scenes, but he's just cutting so often to be stylistic that it ends up being a little bit too much. And I think that's my biggest issue with Hot Fuzz, where I really don't have many issues at all with Shaun of the Dead. These are some of my issues with Hot Fuzz, but besides that, it is a very, very clever movie. And honestly, this could be renamed as Foreshadowing the movie, because they foreshadow every single beat in this movie throughout the entire thing, and to a point where it's kind of obvious that there's something going on, and you know that this town is kind of messed up, but you're with Sergeant Angel and him trying to figure out what in the world is wrong with this town, because he's a big time city cop and he's going to this small village, and they're the perfect village. There's no crime, but a lot of accidents, and you see that those accidents quite aren't accidents, and he finds out that there's this whole cultish thing happening in the background with just great performances from the store owner to the main chief of the police station, and it's a huge cover-up, and it's extremely funny. The deaths in this movie, the accidents are hilarious. They're so funny. And yes, it's a cop movie, and I know with everything going on with cops, this movie really does make fun of cops. Especially when the big city police department is kind of kicking Simon Pegg's character out because he's too good of a cop. I mean, but it's a really fun, entertaining movie, and you can look at how it kind of takes Bad Boys 2, and it takes a lot of inspiration from that and Point Break, and how it's just, they're terrible cop movies. Like, they are not realistic in any sense, and this movie is extremely, just way over the top, and I love it. And then we get into The World's End, which I think most people think is the worst of the trilogy, but I find it extremely underrated. I love The World's End more than most people, and, you know, at its core, it's just a friendship between these five characters, the five musketeers, and it's them going through the Golden Mile, which is 12 pubs all in a row, and to get to the world's end, and you drink that final pint of beer, but they never quite made it as kids, so several years later, they finally get back together with Simon Pegg kind of twisting his words to convince all of his old high school friends to come back with him to their hometown to finish this Golden Mile. And throughout this movie, they get more and more progressively drunk because, you know, they're drinking a pint of beer at every single bar. So, I mean, of course, they're going to get just completely trashed. And that's exactly what this movie is. And at that, it would have been a very funny, entertaining comedy about this friendship between these 5 characters. But then you throw in the whole sci-fi aspect, which, spoilers for The World's End, if you did not know this, this is a very supernatural and sci-fi movie, which you wouldn't expect at that face value of what premise I just told you. But then they're introduced that this town has been taken over by these blanks, by these robots, and it's a sci-fi movie where this alien race of, they don't say they're robots, they say they're not robots, but they're pretty much robots, because I don't know, it's just weird. They're filled with blue stuff. It reminds me of Alien and the replicants in Blade Runner, and it's really funny. But they find out that the entire town pretty much has been replaced by these blanks, and they have taken over the town, and they're trying to make sure that these 5 characters don't figure it out. And when they figure it out, in that action scene, which, compared to Hot Fuzz, this is a long oneer. The action scene in the bathroom is incredible, and I think this is where Edgar Wright really matured as a filmmaker, and I think that this is his best action he's ever directed. At this point, I know Baby Driver came out a few years after this, and Baby Driver is incredible with the action, but I don't know, so there's something about the action in The World's End that is just really invigorating, and its timing, and when it happens, it's sparingly because it's focused on the characters, but when it happens, it's thrilling. And I think my favorite scene in this movie, which is also my favorite action scene, I know I mentioned the one in the bathroom, but my favorite action scene, my favorite scene in the entire movie, is when Simon Pegg is in that other bar, and he's trying to drink his beer while fighting all these blanks, and they keep on either knocking the beer out of his hand, or it keeps on breaking, and he just can't finish the beer. And it's so funny, because he's fighting while trying to drink, while other characters are also fighting, and it's insane. This action sequence is insane. I love it so much, and the fact that at the end he finally gets to drink his entire beer, and it's so satisfying. Like, yes, Simon Pegg, you got it, you did it. It's amazing. And then at the end of the movie, of course, you get that insane fight between Simon Pegg and Nick Frost's character, where he's at the final bar, he's at the world's end, and he has a pint right there in his hand, and Nick Frost prevents him from drinking it. And it's frustrating because, yes, you want them to make up, and you're really into this friendship and this kind of torn apart anger between the two, but you also really want Simon Pegg to drink that beer. It's so well done, and like I said, the relationship in that movie is my favorite, because right from the beginning of the movie, they're at complete odds. They don't like each other anymore, or at least Nick Frost's character wants nothing to do with Gary King. He thinks Gary King is the worst. He thinks he hasn't grown up, and to be fair, Gary King did not grow up whatsoever in all these years. But when they're fighting at the end, and when they make up, and when even the robot alien overlord decides that he's not going to win an argument against Gary King, and they all just fuck off, it's amazing. I love the ending of that movie. And so when it comes to all 3 of these movies, I don't know. I kind of toss up between which one's my favorite. It's either Shaun of the Dead or The World's End. I love them each for both different reasons. I think The World's End is probably Edgar Wright's most mature film besides Baby Driver, especially of the 3 movies. It's definitely the most mature movie of all 3 of them, because he's progressing as a filmmaker every time. But I do think the relationship is best in The World's End. I think Shaun of the Dead is one of my favorite movies of all time, so that one might have to be my favorite, because I love the horror genre. I love that as a zombie movie. It's one of my favorite zombie movies ever. And Hot Fuzz, as fun as it is, it's really clever. I think it's the weakest of the bunch, but still, a weakest movie of a trilogy being still excellent, that's a pretty great sign of a trilogy. And if I'm going to say one more thing about this entire Edgar Wright Cornetto trilogy, is his ability to foreshadow everything is just incredible. When, at the beginning of the Shaun of the Dead, when I think it's Nick Frost has a plan, he says, oh, we're going to do this, and this, and that, and that is exactly what happens throughout the entire movie, and it basically spoils the entire thing in the first 5 minutes of the movie. And then you have, of course, Hot Fuzz, which has foreshadowing throughout the entire film. It's too much to even name. But then my favorite thing is the fact that at the beginning of The World's End, which I don't know, maybe it's just because I watched that one the most recent, and I just love that movie so much, but when they pull up with the car, and it's the Beast, and it's that one character's car, and Simon Pegg's character has kept after all these years, and he said, oh no, I just replaced this, and that, and it's pretty much not the same car at all, except for the exterior shell. Well, that's pretty much what the blanks are. They have the exterior of the people that they take over, but they take out all the personality. They take out the memories, and it's just kind of an empty husk. And so that bit of foreshadowing, it's so subtle. And that's at the point where you don't realize that this is a sci-fi robot alien movie. And so you just hear that, and it's a very funny throwaway joke, but then you find out that it wasn't a throwaway joke and that it was just complete genius in writing and foreshadowing. So that is my review on the Cornetto Trilogy. This movie, all three of these movies make me extremely happy. If I'm ever down, throw on any one of these movies, I will definitely have one of the best laughs that I've had in weeks. This watching all three of these movies has been great. I really recommend all of you guys to go watch these films. They're all excellent. I love every single one of them. So thanks guys for watching this video. Stay tuned for more of my 30-day film challenge. I'm starting it back up, day 15. We are halfway done after this video, so subscribe to the channel if you guys want to see more of these videos, just like this one. Subscribe, and I hope to see you all in my next one.